I rise up for children because I'm past the point of no return, and that I have seen the suffering, and it's not small. It's a $150 billion a year business, the trading of men, women, and children, and millions of children stuck in this. I've seen too much. I'm past that point where I could ever stop.
I rise up because this vital work matters, and children matter. And it's absolutely vital. They are counting on every person who has the ability to do something, to do that something.
All individuals deserve to live in love, free from sexual abuse and exploitation. Things like human trafficking, pornography, sexual violence, child sexual abuse takes away from that opportunity to live in love free. And so I'm here to fight for a world where all can thrive, and for a culture that aspires to allow people to thrive and flourish.
I think when you ask the question, who do you rise up for me, the very first thing that comes to mind is myself when I was little. You know, I was that girl, I was that child that had this little idyllic, life, and then at about 6, 7 years old, I had a little bit of sexual abuse center. It wasn't enough, it was someone in the family, so it was just confusing, but it was a little marker. And then I'm going all the way to 12, and I have a family member who's also a worship leader in a church that we belong to. And I was molested there by this guy on the way to church. And then he gets out of the car, grabs his guitar, goes to the front of the stage. I think that at that moment, I was changed and I didn't have words.
I rise up against human trafficking because there are a lot of predators out there that are targeting very vulnerable individuals, whether it's women, whether it's, and women are not the only victims out there, men can also become victims, but children that are very vulnerable that do not have a voice.
I rise up for those that cannot stand for themselves. We have so many people that don't have a voice, and by that I mean our children, and those that are most vulnerable often don't have their own voice to protect themselves. And so I rise up for that group there to represent them that oftentimes are in situations where they cannot help themselves.
These are the most vulnerable people in our society, and they've been taken advantage of to a point that there's no coming back unless we intervene in some way, shape, or form. I mean, especially when it comes to children, they can't choose their situation. There's no decision that they can make to better their situation. They are dealt the hand that they're dealt, and unless there's some kind of intervention, whether it be from law enforcement or organizations like OUR, there's nothing that's going to improve their situation unless we intervene.
They are counting on us to engage in any way we can to enable them to be safe and to feel heard and to feel understood.
And when you look at the stats today, the majority of kids are struggling in ways that we've never seen before. So for me, I think of what I was as a child, the intervention I needed, when I had teachers say I was a bad influence versus, hey, what happened to her? What's going on? No one thought how to look deeper and to understand. And so for me, it's for that child that doesn't have an adult in their life that understands, that has parents that have had generational abuse and they don't know how to protect. And so we're standing in the gap for every one of those kids.
I think I'm meant to help and serve other people, and I will continue to serve as long as I have the capacity to be able to do so and to utilize that experience that I have to help educate and empower people.
It's brought up, is there hope in the job that we do? I want to say there is, I know there is. Believe me, I believe that we save a lot of children, and I know because we personally have done it. So the hope is that we're saving a live victim from being sexually molested, sexually exploited. And that is probably the biggest reward for us, to save that child and get them out of that particular situation that they're in.
You intervene, whether as OUR, whether as an undercover operator, whether as a parent, whatever. You intervene and you get to see, and I've seen it so many times, the projection, or you get to see the trajectory of a child's life. If you hadn't intervened, where they went. And because you did intervene, where they went. And I have 2 children that we adopted, who we rescued in 2014, one of the very first operations OUR did, 2 Haitian kids who were being sold by traffickers. And I know definitively what their lives would have been had there not been an intervention. But because there was an intervention, I now see what their life is today, how happy they are, and how thriving they are. And I want that for every child. I want to give every child that opportunity because I've seen the alternative. And that's what makes me rise up, seeing my children every day, knowing that this can be the life of any vulnerable child if we intervene. And more than operators and even law enforcement, I call on parents. You are more effective than all of us if you will engage this fight, and you will rise up with us to protect your children.